Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an article. It's actually right here from Summit News. Now, I know this is Steve Watson, Paul Joseph Watson's thing. It's written by Steve Watson. But here's the thing. I actually went through the study myself, and what's being said in there is 100% accurate. It isn't being sensationalized. It isn't being, portrayed in a way that it isn't true, that isn't true. I will actually leave a link in the description, or I'm going to try to remember to the actual New England Journal of Medicine's report here on what they're talking about, and you can read it for yourselves. So anyway, let's see what Steve Watson had to say here. Medical journal calls for mandatory COVID vaccine. Non-compliance should incur a penalty. Yeah. They're basically looking at the way of trying to force people into this. Oh, well, what we'll do is we'll get people to volunteer, and then at some point we're just going to shove it down their throats. These are what these supposed experts, okay? Michelle M. Mello, JD, PhD, Rusty Silverman, JD, MPH, and Saad B. Omar, MBBS, MPH, PhD. Okay, that's what they're saying in this. So, yeah. Suggests that employment suspension or stay-at-home orders should be used to force people to get a jab. So basically, what they're saying is they're not going to let you, that you want to earn a living? No. You'll have to stay home unless you get a jab. You want to go outside? No. Not unless you get a jab. And they're talking about this in the United States, where you have a constitutionally guaranteed right to travel freely in this country. See, these people don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about inalienable rights. They're power hungry. They're statists. All right? They think the government gives you your rights. How much do you want to bet these people who wrote this, okay, are fucking power hungry and or lefties? A paper published in the New England Journal of Medicine has called for mandating a beer virus vaccine and outlined strategies for how Americans could be forced to take it. The paper warns that an immediate mandate for the vaccine would spark too much resistance and backlash. Yeah, and they know this too. That's the thing. They don't want that to happen. So the writer suggests that at first it should be voluntary. That's, hey, we're going to sneak it in through the back door. We're going to let people, get put to at ease, and then we're going to swoop in and smack them in the back of the head with this. However, it suggests that if not enough people are willing to get the vaccine within the first few weeks of its availability, it should be transformed into an obligation with penalties put in place for refusal. So they want to violate your constitutional rights, your inalienable rights, and force you to get injected with this shit. Even though you're perfectly healthy, even though, as little as 20% can create a herd immunity, let's just jab everyone. These people are ridiculous. The paper outlines 6 trigger criteria that need to be met before the vaccine is made mandatory, and that it should be rolled out to specific demographics of the population first. Only recommended groups should be considered for vaccination mandate initially, according to the paper, which cites high-risk groups as the first set of people. The elderly, health professionals working in high-risk situations or with high-risk patients, persons with certain underlying medical conditions, as well as those in high-density settings such as prisons and dormitories, should be mandated to get the jab, the paper says. Yeah, it also says, basically shove a shit ton of cash down people's throats that have reactions to vaccines. Just say, here's some money, shut up and fucking take the jab. How is that right? You have people who have allergic reactions to vaccinations, and they just want to shove money down their fucking throat and say, so that they can't say no and compel them to take it. That's some sleazy shit. It also suggests that active duty military service members should be among the first that are forced into the vaccination. And you want to know why they want to do that? Because these are people that, because of their hitch to the military, their tour, by Uncle Sam, they're considered property and they cannot refuse to be vaccinated. So they don't have a choice. The paper proclaims that noncompliance should incur a penalty and notes that it should be a relatively substantial one. Yeah, they want to basically ruin your life if you don't take the shot. It suggested employment suspension or stay-at-home orders should be issued, but that fines should be discouraged because they can be legally challenged and may stoke distrust without improving uptake. Well, yeah, that's also, they're also, the Supreme Court case, because they've been using it to push these lockdowns, and it actually says the opposite in it. And judges have actually said that. It's from Massachusetts. Oh, God. But the guy, there was, an outbreak of smallpox. And he said, fuck you, I ain't taking the vaccine. Neither is my kid. I've had allergic reactions. My kid, it runs in the family. We're not doing it. So they fined him. Okay, so he said, fuck you, and he sued. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled that they have a choice. They can either, you have a choice. Vaccination or a fine. Period. And they've interpreted it now that means that they can force this shit on you. That's why they don't want to try to push this one. Because if they go with fines, that means this Supreme Court ruling will actually get looked at, put under scrutiny, because it's the same exact thing. It's an apples to apples comparison. And then you actually have to go and look at the legal precedents and the actual rulings by the justices. And then you find out that this is complete bullshit, and then they have no power, which is why they're discouraging it. Because they know it will get challenged. It will go all the way to the Supreme Court, and they don't think they can win it. Because then the Supreme Courts will have to look at this previous ruling. They'll have to look at the actual, the opinions, and they'll have to go by that. Oh, fuck, I wish I could remember the case. It was like early 20th century, if memory serves. 1920s? No. Shit, I can't remember. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's why they don't want to admit that, but that's why. The paper also suggests that government health authorities should avoid making public their close relationship with vaccine manufacturers to quell public mistrust. Oh. So they don't want people to make the association that these people are in bed with the vaccine companies, and there might be, some motivation to make everyone get these vaccines on the note of a monetary incentive. Gotcha. Just coincidentally, the authors of the paper reside at Yale and Stanford institutions and have received substantial funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for vaccine development. How fucking convenient. People pushing for forced vaccination and parroting the same shit as Bill Gates and his wife Melinda are literally people who are being paid by Bill and Melinda Gates. Oh, nothing to see there. The prospect of denying freedom of movement to those who refuse to vaccinate has been floated recently in the UK, where the government health officials have also suggested that the jab should be made mandatory. Yeah, but see, there's a difference. The U.S., we have in the Constitution the right to free travel, or the right to travel freely, and be safe in our papers and our persons and all, etc., yada, yada, yada. So that means we can travel freely, and if they demand to see our papers on whether or not we've been vaccinated, we can give them the middle fucking finger. And if enough people say fuck you and fight this in court, they're going to lose. Unbelievable shit that they're actually pushing for this in the U.S. here with this fucking New England Journal of Medicine article. It's disgusting. I read this because I'm like, oh, maybe, Paul's brother sensationalizing it. And I went through and I'm like, fuck me, he's not. Okay, yeah, they really said this pretty much verbatim. I was like, holy shit. In the U.S., calls have been made to make the vaccination mandatory, with the likes of the New York Times expressing concern that half of America would refuse to take it. Well, if half of America takes it, that's enough to build herd immunity. So why should everyone need to be vaccinated? Like a little as 20% or something like that can be enough for herd immunity. So if half the people are vaccinated, shouldn't be a problem. In Canada, a poll recently revealed that 60% think that when a vaccine for coronavirus becomes available, or I should say beer virus, oops, YouTube is probably still censoring even though they say they aren't, becomes available, it should be made mandatory. Yes, 60%. Still 40% are going to say fuck you. If those 60% want to go and get jabbed, they're enough for herd immunity. End of story. In addition, Canada's current chief political health officer appeared in a recently resurfaced 2010 documentary in which she advocated using mandatory tracking bracelets for people who refuse to take a vaccine after a virus outbreak. Ooh. Oh, God. They're going to put fucking ankle bracelets on people. Like the idea of like if you're a criminal. Well, that obviously, tracking bracelets, anklets, however you want to look at it. That's ridiculous. But I mean, yeah. I seriously thought that Steve Watson was exaggerating things, but he wasn't. So like I said, I will try to leave a link to the perspective here of the I don't know how to put this. Like, I don't want to, what would I call this? The call for medical tyranny, locking down the country, forcing people to get vaccinated, and if they don't, they can't have a life or a job or anything. It's ridiculous. Anyway, their perspective, we'll say, because it says it right there. But, yeah. Anyway, I've gone through this. I've covered it well enough. I'm leaving things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.